All right, here we are. We are back. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to Fintech Fridays. I'm Brian View, President, Chief Operating Officer of FinLocker, and so pumped to have my good buddy, Scott Schang from Find My Way Home join us. Hey, Scott.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. This is so exciting. I get to be your first guest of 2023.
Yeah, we're kicking off the new year. You and I think we did at least one episode together last year, early in the year, and it seemed apropos given some of the changes in your life and in business. And so I thought it'd be great to kind of get caught up with you and share, what's going on with Find My Way Home and really how I really think it makes so much sense in today's market. But maybe before we do that, for those that are tuning in and aren't sure who the heck Scott Schang is, maybe just a little backdrop bio, Scott, on you and kind of how long you've been at this mortgage thing.
Yeah, I'm a country boy, born in your backyard in Michigan.
Right.
And so I got into the mortgage industry in 1998, and I didn't originate initially. I didn't have any experience in the mortgage industry. I had a friend who had a mortgage company. So I kind of went in and I set up a telemarketing room. They had you could use predictive dialers back then. Yeah. So I kind of set up those systems and that tech, and I was kind of assisting other loan officers. And, back then we were refinancing. It was a refi boom in the early 2000s, and we were refinancing people from 9.5 to 7.5, and they thought it was the second coming. Like everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, I can get a 7.5% interest rate." So that's really cool. That contrast, that perspective. But yeah, so I'm kind of a nerdy systems guy, and I wanted to originate. I saw what these other loan officers were doing, and I was like, okay, I already know how to do the back end work and, calculate DTIs and things like that. The owner of the company said, Scott, quite frankly, I don't think you have the personality to be a loan officer. I don't think you have what it takes because I'm not a salesperson, and I wasn't a salesperson. I'm a nerdy systems guy. And so he made me process for the top loan officer in the company for a year. And then when I started originating, I hated taking calls from the call center that I set up. I mean, they were title leads, and, they were transferring them over. And I discovered a room in our office that was called the turn down room. And it was legal sized paper boxes filled floor to ceiling of loan paper 1003, credit and sales comps. And they were turned down. So they were either not interested. The loan officer didn't think there was a deal there. So I started grabbing those boxes and going through them. And I started finding opportunities. And I tripled the production of every other loan officer in the company for the next 2 years, working exclusively off of turn downs. So I kind of coined this phrase as a second opinion specialist or a second opinion loan officer. And that's really how I started in the industry. And so I learned two things out of that. The first thing that I learned is that the consumer's options are limited to the experience and the effort of the loan officer that they get stuck with. And that's more important now than ever, because what happens when consumers have questions about qualifying for a mortgage? They go online, they go to Google, they type in something, and they get hit by these companies that spend billions of dollars a year to convince consumers that filling out a lead form is how you get your questions answered. Right. And so they get stuck in Quicken and LendingTree and Bankrate and these kinds of things. And statistically speaking, less than 2% of those lead forms convert into a loan. And those companies that are paying that money to get those leads, they're happy with that. They can make a lot of money doing that because it's a volume play for them. So, fast forward to 2008. Actually about 2004, 2005, I went off and started my own brokerage, and I specialized in the things that nobody else wanted to do. It was the subprime boom. but I didn't really do subprime. I did Fannie Mae. They used to have the My Community mortgages, the 97s and 100s. 97th. Yeah, well, in 100s, we would do 100s all day long, but they had income limits. We were doing CRA programs and we were doing bond programs. So we didn't get paid a lot, but nobody else wanted to do them because they didn't think they made enough money or whatever. And people were burning and, churning and burning 80/20s and, 3-1 arms and things like that back then. So when 2008 hit, I was in California and home prices dropped about 50 or 60%. And the opportunity that I saw was it was going to be a home buyer's market, right? Because buyers couldn't afford in 2005, 2006, 2007 in California. It was obnoxious. So I started writing about all of the buyer assistance programs, buyer education. And I wrote 2 to 3 articles a week for the next 10 years. and after about 6 or 7 years, I started doing video. And now I'm just all in on video because you can sit here and you can share your experience as a loan officer, as a guideline geek especially, and then transcribe that. And you have a blog post that can be found on Google, and you have a YouTube video that's also going to be found on Google that's going to show up right there on that page 1 if you hit the long tail. So I did that for since 2007 is when I learned WordPress, like at the end of 2007. And I just kept running with it. And surprisingly enough, I didn't learn about Google Analytics until 2010. So or maybe I had it, but who knows? But my pixel that's on there now is there since August 2010. So I have about 12 years worth of data. We have averaged over 12,000 unique visitors a month for since 2008. Well, since 2010, I mean. Today we get about 23 to 25,000 unique organic visitors. And when I say unique organic, these are just people that are typing in a question into Google. Yeah. And what I noticed, again, overwhelmingly, these consumers were told no by a telemortgager. And salespeople, one of the challenges in our industry is a lot of the loan officers are trained to be transactionally based. Yep. It's how many applications did I take today? How many loans did I open today? And we're not really worrying about prospecting and worrying about long game. And so ultimately, I recognized that when I share my experience through a blog post or a video, I am cloning myself. And there is no better referral source on the planet than me. So I have an army of clones on the internet that are referring business from me to me, and the consumers already know, like, and trust you before they even reach out. It's not even a question of whether or not they can help or whether or not you can help them. Well, it's a question of whether or not they qualify. But like, you're building that relationship before you even talk to them. There's no question about interest rates and fees and all that kind of stuff. You're not getting shopped. And the repeat and referral business off of people that have been turned down by other loan officers, the loyalty of that clientele is just crazy. So, I've been doing this for so long, Brandon. I'm like, so eventually there's no geographic boundaries on a website. So for years, I just gave leads away to friends of mine all across the country. And then a couple of years ago, I was just seriously thinking about how do I share this experience with other loan officers? Because I basically call this market proofing your business, because it doesn't matter if it's a good or a bad business. Consumers have questions about qualifying for a mortgage. So if I have thousands of me's out there on the internet that can be found, it makes the ups and downs a little bit it levels them out a little bit because I've been working on it for so long. So a couple of years ago, I decided to try to turn it into a business and bring it back to my community and back to the industry that has treated me so well for 20 plus years. And so now the Find My Way Home Expert Network is a platform for consumers to get a second opinion on their questions about qualifying for a mortgage. So it's almost like a directory now.
Yeah.
And the cool part about this is we have literally made creating content as simple as scheduling an appointment on a Calendly. And I have a professional director. It's a remote production service. I have a professional director on the computer, and you're just doing a Zoom call with them. and they're asking you questions about what you specialize in. And they're editing up in the background. And we have a finished video. We transcribe it. We publish it on Find My Way Home. We publish it to your YouTube channel. We pixel all of the content. So anybody that sees it, we're retargeting them for the next 3 months. Anybody that reaches out goes into Bonzo. So I've also built the perfect tech stack, consumer direct tech stack that's taken years and years. Right. I'm really excited about, I don't do enough with FinLocker. We still get people signing up for our FinLocker all of the time. But in this first quarter, hopefully, by the time this comes out, I told you I'm redesigning my website, and FinLocker is going to be presented to every single consumer that comes to our website because I think it's so important. This is a market, Brian, this is a market where we can learn new things, right? You have a little bit more time, you can make some of these investments, but most importantly, this is a market to build your database. Right. And get as many people into your database as you can and go after those first-time buyers, because there's going to come a point where their rent goes up too high, or they're going to see home prices come down just enough, or better yet, in about 12 months from now, 18 months from now, it's going to be in the news that home prices are starting to rise again. Right. And then all of those buyers that have been sitting there, they're always juggling home prices, interest rate. Right. So they're just waiting for one or more of those to give them a good reason to move forward. And so what we've created is the ability for you to create consistent content and then push that content out to your entire database on a consistent basis. So they're always reminded of who you are and what you do. And, I always tell people, you don't have to solve anyone's problem on the internet. You just have to let them know that you are a problem solver. Yeah. And when they see that you're just solving all of these problems, they're like, man, I wonder if they can help me out. And I'm telling you, it's crazy. And so we've been running the platform for about 18 months now. Got the tech stack dialed, got all the production line dialed. What's really cool about it is because video is such a long game and it takes a while for you to start generating leads off of your, people reaching out to you from your own content. But I made about 630 introductions to our network last month. Amazing. Of consumers that have questions about qualifying for a mortgage. So I'm not saying these things are great. They're what they are, but they're and that's another thing I wish I could change about our industry. I hate the word leads because it's so easy to say, oh, that lead sucks. Right. The reality of it is that's a family that's trying to see if they can buy a home. Like, I don't care if their credit's not great. I don't care if they have a part-time job or if they've had hardships in the past. They're a family. If your brother, sister, or cousin came up to you and said, Brian, I got a 580 credit score and I just lost my job, but I really want a house for my family, you're going to take the time to talk to them. You're going to get them into FinLocker. You're going to get them on a path, right? And you're going to say, work on your budget, work on your credit, monitor your credit, and you're going to put them on a path. And then they're going to remember that you took that time, because if they filled out a form on the internet, that kid in the Quicken call center is going to hear 580 and they're going to hang up on you.
That's right.
They're going to ghost you. They might not hang up on you, but they're definitely going to end that call quickly so that they can get to their next check mark, their next tick box on how many calls they took today.
Yeah, I love what you guys are doing. I think, if we rewind the clock, 12 to 18 months, probably a little bit more difficult for you to get the attention of loan officers to kind of see what you're doing, because at that time they had probably more business than they had their own personal capacity to handle. But we are in a completely different market. We all know that. But this is the market that is going to separate kind of the true professional loan officers from everybody else. Yeah. And you hit on something earlier when you kind of talked about the mindset of a loan officer that's more transactional than relationship driven. Yeah. And I love your analogy of a family member. If a family member came to any loan officer, that loan officer most likely 9 times out of 10, regardless of where they sit from a business perspective, they're going to play the long game with a family member to help them.
Yeah.
What you've done is built a platform that loan officers can plug into that creates that long game for them. They got to do some work. There's no doubt they've got to do some work, and you give them the tools to not only create content, but to get it out there.
We do most of the work, and then we coach on how to leverage it even more.
Right.
Yeah.
I love everything you're doing, and you hit on FinLocker a couple of times. We're so our product and your platform are so aligned in terms of what we each are focused on to help consumers, especially those that aren't ready now. Let's face it. The ready now consumer is going to go right to point of sale and get into the underwriting line. They don't need FinLocker per se. It's everybody else that needs a tool and a platform like you've built there.
Well, and here's another important thing to remember. As a loan officer, we're licensed in the state, so we can scrape up any crumbs that are in our state. But our referral partners, they're floundering out there. Like if there's no turnover in their market and their farm, they're dying on the vine. So this is the time to be building those relationships with those loan officers or with those realtors. And quite frankly, if you're learning how to do video, you should be teaching them what you're learning on a regular basis. And now imagine this, Brian, you have 12 months from now, you have several hundred home buyers in a database. Something clicks in the market, and now you've got all of these buyers that need a real estate agent. What do you think your relationship's going to be, and what do you think your future purchase money business is going to look like when you're just handing off buyers to these real estate agents that have just been trying to hang on, burning through their savings for the last 12 months, scrambling to try to dig up business? You're going to be the hero, and you're going to secure that relationship too. This is not only a time to be building your database and relationships with consumers, but this is the time to be spending on helping these realtors that probably don't have business to send to you right now.
Right.
But they need help too. And this is just such an amazing. So, the word that comes around a lot when you're talking about content marketing is servant leadership. And it really is. The people that are attracted to our platform are just really caring people. They hate saying no. They're guideline geeks. Like they'll go through. They're known in their office for helping the underwriter understand these guidelines and getting your loans approved. Right. And it's like it's an incredible opportunity for us, because alongside with that, we're usually not super extroverted. We're kind of the introverted guys. We're the ones that are like, I'd rather read guidelines than be on a phone call with somebody, right? Yeah. So that's why video is so great, especially when we can, with what we solved with the Zoom call. Like if I'm sitting here talking to you, I've got all this experience that consumers are just desperate for. And the second they see you explaining a real scenario, and I'll drop a hint for everybody out there that's listening, the single best content you can start with is just telling success stories about clients that you've closed. Start with everybody who was turned down by another loan officer.
Right.
then go to anybody who was referred from a real estate agent or something like that. And then the hard stuff, the ones that you weren't sure that they were even going to close or something popped up at the last minute. Show people that you are a problem solver. The other really cool thing about video is, and as soon as this clicked for me, it made so much sense. We kind of feel like I'm broadcasting to the internet, but the reality is video is a one-on-one conversation.
Right.
There is only one consumer watching your video at a time. So when I'm doing this video, I'm not saying, so listen, if you folks are out there and this happens to you, I'm saying no. When your loan officer saw that you had a student loan with an income-based repayment and they told you no, they probably didn't know what they were talking about. I see this all the time. You're not alone. Trust me. Here are your options. Right. That's a completely different type of conversation. And when I say have that conversation, I use student loans because student loans has been an unbelievable niche for us since 2015 when the guidelines changed. And so that's another cool thing about our network, Brian, is I've been doing this for so long. I can see a guideline or I can see a guideline change, and I know that that's going to bring in a bunch of business.
Right.
The latest example of that is, like, if you go to my Facebook or my LinkedIn, I just published an interview I did with David Tsai, who is on our platform. He was one of our founding members. In August, I said, you know what? You need to start creating videos about traveling nurses because you've got variable income, variable hours, variable employers potentially, and Quicken can't touch it. They're not going to know what to do. And every single FHA is going to treat it differently than VA, than USDA, than Fannie Mae, than Freddie Mac. Anytime you have that kind of scenario where the guidelines are different. So David created a video in August, and I just looked at it. I think he's gotten 15 direct nurses that reached out to him from that one video, and I think he's closed 3 or 4, but he opened about half of them, like 7 or 8 of them. He's working on. He's still working on them now, and it's unreal. It's like
one video. Probably
that
took
was
him
one video. That's
took
not
him 35, 40 minutes to create it, maybe tops.
Oh, yeah. So the reason I love David, he's one of these guys that he heard like this conversation, and he was just like, okay, I get it. I'm in. I'm going to do it. He didn't even ask questions. He wasn't great when he started, but now you can't keep him off a video. Like he started doing 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month, which is like 3 or 4 videos in an hour. Yeah. Now he does 1 hour a week. He's publishing 3 to 4 videos a week right now. And now it takes him like 10 minutes. He's one take Charlie right now. Like, he flips it on and he just screams it out. But he's been doing it for 18 months. And like, seriously, if I told you, if you started this 18 months ago, that you would have inbound, high trust, high intent consumers calling you today, like, where do I sign up?
Yeah.
But it's that work. It's that waiting period that, I mean, everybody wants to create content. Nobody wants to put in the work.
Now, a while back, you and I were talking about the platform, and so you now have dozens of loan officers on the platform across, the country, right? And I know you're growing as we speak. How does that scale kind of help drive more traffic to your site? I mean, I get it. If someone is hyper local and they're creating content and it's getting pushed into their community, local community, that's also going to be seen. Like you said, there's no boundaries on the internet, so what's published in Topeka, Kansas is seen in Novi, Michigan as an example, right? I talk a lot about this, and I have free courses for this. Anything hyper-local, you're referencing hyper-local terminology. Right. So you're talking about Topeka, Kansas. If you're talking about Topeka, Kansas, the guy in Novi, Michigan's not going to find it because he's not typing in those keywords. So that's part of the 15 plus years of doing this, just learning SEO, search engine optimization, best practices.
And really what this is long tail is, again, that consumer is going to type in, well, and then if you did that on Topeka, if you did that in Topeka, Kansas, then I would be running Facebook ads in Topeka, Kansas, and I would just be showing that video to anybody who lives in or travels to, whatever your options are on Facebook. So like when you create video, you're creating a library of trust assets. And every single one of those videos you can leverage in a conversation. You can repurpose it. You can promote it in different platforms and then have all roads lead back. I mean, that's the cool thing about it is you do it once and you repurpose it 5, 6, 7 times. And now you're just out there everywhere on the internet. Yeah.
Well, as we kick off 2023, everybody in our industries is looking at kind of assessing their business plan, their business strategy, their processes. What's the best way for someone that's interested in learning more, Scott, to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way, so there's 2 ways to do it. So it's findmywayhome.com. And just look at the directory, click on the states. It's going to ask you for, turn on your geolocation and it'll show you who's licensed in your area. Definitely track down David. He's licensed in, he can do business in most states, so he's going to pop up. So see that. And then if you do /SOLO, Second Opinion Loan Officer, that's a free community that I created. Everything that I'm talking about, I have free courses. I go into explicit detail and I'm constantly sharing content ideas. I do that for free. I give content ideas on a regular basis, and I'm using our analytics from our website. I'm like, hey, you guys, here's where the traffic is going. If you want to know more about joining the network, it's /LO expert, LO expert, and that's kind of the sales page for the network. Quite frankly, there's a link on there. You're going to want to just schedule a Zoom call with me, but just reach out to me. I'm easy to find. And I also just started a YouTube channel called Second Opinion Loan Officer Podcast. And you can find that on YouTube. I have, I think 9 episodes up right now. And the 9th one was David. That was a really interesting conversation of how he went. So I'm easy to find. Look at what we're doing. If it resonates with you, if any of this stuff in our conversation resonates with you, I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in terms of done for you. I've really reduced it to the absolute bare minimum that you have to do to be successful on this platform. But you just have to schedule that monthly call.
Yeah,
but
I love it.
Jump on a Zoom call with me. Let's talk about it. It's not a fit for everybody. I find myself talking people out of it more than I talk them into it, which is, I'm such a horrible salesperson. But I'm like, listen, I know it's not inexpensive. It's an investment. But if you compare it to what you would have to invest to hire all the employees that have the skill sets to do all this stuff, it's really cheap. But I tell people, if you're not willing to commit a minimum of 12 months to this, I don't want to set you up to fail.
Yeah.
Right? I'm here to help you win. That's
the key, right, Scott? This is not, too many people are right now, especially looking for that quick fix, that silver bullet, that magic elixir. And this is just hard work that you just have to be consistent and persistent with. And that's what is so cool about what you've been doing since the late 90s, early 2000s. This has been kind of a labor of love, right?
Yeah. You always say that, nobody chooses this business. It always chooses us. But the other side of that coin is we don't always choose our niche either. Our niche sometimes chooses us. Yeah. So we end up just being this person that loves helping people that get turned down. Mia Schultz on our network. Mia's been doing loans. About 60 or 70% of her business comes from Find My Way Home. It has since 2012.
Wow.
And she calls herself the mortgage therapist. And like she loves talking to people that have been told, that just have a little bit of hair on them.
Yeah.
And everything's got hair on it today. And
no question.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome, Scott. I appreciate you coming on. What a great way to kick off the year. I think if you're a loan officer out there and you're checking out this episode to start the year, make sure you get on Scott's calendar. This is an important segment of the market that honestly is ignored for the most part. That's what's amazing to me. These are people that raised their hand. They had intent. It didn't work out for them, and yet that's still a segment that's ignored. And what you're doing, Scott, with your platform is so needed, and it's such a valuable tool for not just the consumer, but for the industry. I love what you're doing. I appreciate you, appreciate our partnership and friendship, and
absolutely,
and especially thank you for coming on and kicking off the year with us.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I love an opportunity to talk about this stuff. I don't know if anybody can tell, but I'm a little passionate about this. I love helping people, and I just love how this works. And yeah, I'm super excited about our partnership with FinLocker as well. I'm really looking forward to it. It's like when you do this, you attract people to you that support your cause and share your values. And I think that's a really important part of what we're creating too, is a community of people that have this mindset, that are trying to bring this kind of value back into the market and trying to keep these consumers out of call centers. Somebody's got to do it.
I love it. Well, man, thank you so much. Happy New Year. We'll see everybody next Friday. Thank you.
Thanks.